Welcome to Uncommonly More with Stacey Harris. I am Stacey. I'm the host of this show and the CEO of podcast production agency Uncommonly More. My team and I work with podcasters just like you to shift shows from frustrating time sucks to productive members of sales teams with professional, strategic podcast production. You know what? I think that's enough. Let's get into the show and we'll talk more there. If you've ever wondered what podcast production really means or what hiring a podcast producer should do for your show or your actual production of your show, this is the episode you want to listen to. We're going to dig into what happens after you hire a podcast producer, talk a little bit about some of the nuance of production versus like editing or management. And specifically, we're going to sort of rapid fire some things you can expect from as we wrap up the episode to give you an idea of your deliverable and process. This is going to be a fantastic conversation because so many times have I been in a position where I've been recommended something or I've seen the marketing for something and I've wondered, okay, cool. What does that actually look like? What does that feel like? And that's led to me doing a lot of episodes of this show where I sort of talk about what to expect. You know, we've talked about podcast production agency versus podcast production editor, how to know when you're ready to hire professional support, those kind of things. But today I want to talk about some nuance you need to look at when you're looking at who to partner with and straight up what to expect on the back end. Now, caveat, there's going to be some nuance to this episode, and I will very likely point it out as we're along the way. But to start, everything I talk about today is going to be what you can expect with Uncommonly More. Not in a way that's like because we do things exceptionally different, although we do, but because I can't speak to what you'll get elsewhere. I want you to be using this information as a way to build for yourself what your must-haves are, what your non-negotiables are, what the things that you need to have are, so that when you start talking to podcast production agencies, including us, you have the questions you want to be asking. You're equipped with the expectations you need met. So as we're going through this today, I want you to be really mindful of that second piece. With that, I want to dig in. I want to start by talking about the nuance of your show. Because there are different kinds of podcasts. And we've talked about this before, but it's such an important thing to remember when it comes to looking to who you want to partner with. The kind of shows our agency works with are shows like this one. Shows where the goal of the show is to monetize through business sales. Meaning, you're looking to sell services, you're looking to sell maybe a product, you're looking to sell programs, coaching, something. You are using this as a lead gen tool, which makes your goals different, which makes your process different, which makes the kind of asset you're building different. It also makes the strategy different. So as you're looking to partner with agencies, be partnering with an agency where there's an awareness of that. I'll be completely honest, we have no shows. We produce 0 shows where the goal is to sell ad space. We partner with shows where they're looking to nurture prospective buyers and educate prospects enough to be able to make a decision on whether this is the right next step for them. And so I want you to be really mindful of the goals of your show and the kind of program or strategy or support you're moving into, because it needs to be a match for your goals. One of those strategic differences is really going to come down to even the kind of episodes you're creating. This episode is a great example of that. This is an episode that I'll be able to repurpose, and we'll talk more about that in a second, but also that's going to help you as the listener implement things in your own business and your own show, but also help you make a decision around if now is the right time for you to be investing in this kind of support. And let's talk a little bit about what I mean by repurposing. There have been 2 instances in the last couple of years specifically that come to mind when I talk about this really being a a bacon saver, right? This really being something that came through and helped out. And honestly, there are lots of examples of this. But the two I want to point to are planned or unplanned. And a planned one looked like we had a client who was expanding her family and expecting a baby and going to be on maternity leave. And so what was that going to mean for content? What was that going to mean for her client list when she got back? Was there going to be anything she was selling, sort of a leveraged product maybe, while she was off, so she could be bringing in revenue while on maternity leave? And the answers to those questions were, yeah, those are all things we should consider. Uh, and so it turned out she did put together a product. She had a wait list in place to work with her. And guess what? We mapped out repurposing episodes so that she could record and pre-batch half as many episodes as she was going to need for the months that we did do any new episodes. Plus, we planned in a couple of months there where she completely took off. Like, there wasn't even anything to do for new episodes. We completely repurposed. Now, this can be especially great for clients that work with us because it gives us the ability to polish episodes that maybe were created before we started working together. But also, it can be a really good way to give yourself some space when you have something planned coming up. I am in the midst of Q2 calls with our clients, planning their time and their content and their sales for Q2. And guess what? With almost everybody, we talked about where can we add in some repurposing so we can take some space. Because for most of our clients, download numbers, June, July, or August, tend to drop. What's interesting is it's not the same months for everybody, but somewhere in there, we tend to not bottom out, but there is a noticeable slowdown in listenership. And it's like, cool. Let's repurpose there. Let's build in some space for your own time away and really support people with what they need in that time if they show up to consume. And so we pulled in repurposing. And when we're looking at building strategic assets like this episode, that's really easy. Now, let's talk about another instance, though, where maybe this wasn't planned. Maybe suddenly you're ill, or your kids are sick, or you are having some mental health stuff, or whatever the case may be. In the case of the last 2 years, this was an instance where clients became ill and were out of commission for 2 or 4 or 6 weeks in some cases. And so guess what we were able to do really, really quickly? Step in, identify where we could use past assets, re-release them. They had all of their marketing assets ready. Their downloads stayed consistent, even saw growth. They saw sales, all while they were stepped back. All while they were taking a beat and taking care of themselves. And that's what it means to be in control of your content and not have your content in control of you. That's what it means to be in charge. That's what having some strategy and forethought will buy you. Not just from the perspective of an ability to batch and be ahead, which is something our clients are. And again, when you're working with a producer, you should be able to do. But when it hit the fan, when there was nothing left, we could step in and help. They didn't even need to decide what episodes were going to go out. We had this, just in the first couple of months of this year, we had a client who wasn't even ill. There was no illness. However, there was a lot of needs for their attention. There were some big projects that were happening. There was some personal life stuff that was happening. They were just getting lifed from all sides. And they were like, I know I'm behind, when do I need to get these done? I can sit down and I can squeeze it in. And I went, well, what if we just ran this series? What if we mapped out this alternative content plan? And we were able to buy her a whole month of space. We were able to buy her a whole month off from her show that she did not expect to have. And I think that there's no greater gift than finding unexpected time not already committed to something else. And that's what we were able to do. And that's what happens when you are working with a good strategic fit for your podcast production, is you have someone who you can call and you can say, I don't know how this is going to happen. And they can partner with you to get it done. And that's what I want you to be looking for when you're looking at, who is this person for me? Who is this agency for me? Be looking at someone who can hold the wheel for you and with you strategically, because it matters. And really, this is why we have our strategy calls once a quarter with our clients. And this is going to kind of start shifting into our deliverables and how we work. But when our clients sign with us and we go and obviously there's the tactical stuff like passwords and getting, if there's already graphics that you have, getting those templates to us. If not, working with our designer to get those templates created, whatever the case may be. The tech stuff is all sorted. The logins, the folders, our Monday dashboard is created so that our clients can go in there and start seeing what's going on. And then we have our kickoff call. And it is a 90-minute version of our quarterly strategy call. I find that the first one needs a little extra time, but that's really where we're starting our kickoff process. We're starting our audit. Where's the show been? Where is the show now? Where is the show going? We're looking at your own sales goals for that first. I usually ask about the first 3 to 6 months in that first call, just so I have a little more runway as we look at our second quarterly call. And we're talking about, what do we need to be doing? Where do you need time off? Where is this hard right now? Where can we make your process easier? And we start putting all of that into Monday so that when we wrap up that call, our clients can go in there and see exactly what's expected of them for the next 12 weeks. Exactly what they need done. And as they're moving through that 12 weeks and moving through that actual production process, they're seeing where their shows are along the way. They're seeing that our editor is in there, that our transcriptionist is in there, that our show notes writers are in there, that our schedulers and our production assistants are going and scheduling things. And then they can see in their folder that they have their audiograms and their graphics and their transcript and their SEO optimized show notes and their professionally edited audio files all in one place, easy for them to go and use. They can see that they've got their link set up really easily so that they can send traffic to that new episode. They can schedule their social media to promote that episode, and then they can take it back. Notice our clients weren't in there. That's what I wanted you to hear. That's what you should be looking at when you're looking at a producer. You're not just looking at someone who's going to edit it and hand it back to you, and then you have to get it transcribed, and you have to write the blog post, and you have to create the graphics. That's not a producer, that's an editor. A producer is somebody who is sitting with you in that strategic role and partnered with you in overseeing your production process, and who is going to hand back finalized deliverables for you so that you're ready to go and market your show. Plain and simple. And that's what you should be expecting when you hire a podcast producer. As I wrap up this episode, I want to highlight a couple of things. There are 3 pieces that I really want you to take away from this. 1, how many times I use the word partner. I kept this episode short, so if you want to listen to it again, you can count the times I said partner. This should be a partnership. This should be someone who you trust to give a crap about your show. That's important. This should be somebody who is helping you hold the wheel strategically, who when you sit down together, and again, part of that partnership is that you do sit down together regularly. Like I said, we meet with our clients every quarter to ask this question. What are we selling in the next 12 weeks? What do they need to know to make a decision if now is the right time for them? And that's critical. And In those quarterly calls, there's also a lot of holding space because this is a partnership. Holding space for the I don't know if I have anything to say. I don't know if I'm talking to the right people. Am I making this too complicated? Am I not making this complicated enough? I don't want to record. Does the show even work? Because a lot of times what I do in those quarterly calls is go through numbers with our clients. Ask questions about if anybody's mentioned the show to them, what kind of DMs they've gotten, kind of sales have come in through the show. Because obviously it's working. But sometimes we're not always super connected with that. And so we need someone outside of us to shine a little light on that again, right? And I want you to have that kind of partnership. So that's number one. Number two, notice how much of this was high level. What in that was appealing to you? What, as I laid out that kickoff process, that production process, and outlined some of those deliverables that we hand back, what in there was most important to you? And if you can't right now invest in a full production partner, where can you start making some of those pieces easier in the interim? Maybe it's handing off editing. Maybe it's finding a really great transcription tool. I have several if you would like them. Hit me in the DMs. Whatever it is, what were the things that were like, oh, that would be amazing? And start finding ways to get started there. Start moving in that direction. And start figuring out what is it that you need to be doing to make space for this investment. Because if all of that was appealing, it's time to find the resources. Simple as that. The number 3 thing that I want you to think about is timing. If you made it to this point in the episode and you are still engaged and you are still listening to me and you're like, yeah, this is cool. Why is now not the right time? And better yet, why is now the right time? Because it very likely is. As you start looking at your Q2 and your Q3 and your own desire to have some holiday time this summer for those of us on this side of the equator and winter for you on the other, in this Q2, in this Q3, where do you want some space away? As you prepare for Q4, are you going to want some time off at the end of the year? Are you going to want to go into next year in a less frustrated space than you were when you started your show in Q1 of this year? And I know, because I've been talking to a lot of you, that was not super funsies as you moved into this part of this year maybe. When is the timing right? When is the discomfort going to be enough that you're ready to partner? And if now is when that discomfort is high enough and you're ready, let's do this. uncommonlymore.com/podcast production is the place to go to book your call with me. We will bring on 2 new clients in April. We don't bring on more than 2 shows a month. So we will have 2 spots ready to work with us in May. We will have 2 spots ready to work with us in April. I would love one of those shows to be yours so that we can move into this summer and move into the fall and move into the end of the year really, really with you supported and your listenership supported so that your show can be doing what it needs to do for your business. All right? All right. I will see you back here next week. These next 2 episodes that I have for you are going to be really cool. They're going to be a 2-part series. We're going to be talking about the host-guest relationship. We're going to kick it off with how to be a better guest. So basically, it's going to be 4 things hosts wish guests did. And then we're going to wrap it up in the second part with the guest perspective. So how to be a better host, 4 things guests wish hosts would know and do. And so it's going to be a really cool series. So tune into that next week, and I will see you there. If you made it to this point of the show and you still happen to be listening, which statistically is unlikely, I want to say thank you for listening. Thanks for hanging out with me today, and I want to hear from you. So reach out on social or via email and let me know what actions you're going to take from today's episode, because Honestly, that's why we produce this show. That's why I record this show. That's why my team does all the work to release this show. Is so that we can help you. We can help make a difference in your show and consequently in your business. If you haven't left a review for the show, head over to ratethispod.com/more. It's an easy way to show some love to the show and also help us reach more podcasters who are looking for the same kind of support you were looking for. If you have any suggestions or ideas or thoughts you would like me to address on the show, be sure to reach out. Again, like I say a lot, this is the start of the conversation, and I can't wait to hear what you have to say.